Welcome to Awakening Streams, the podcast of One River Zen Meditation Center in Ottawa, Illinois. Hosted by Sensei Michael Shikan Brunner. Learn more, donate, and practice with us at oneriverzen.org.
Today about a case from the Shoyoroku. It's otherwise known as the Book of Equanimity. It's the sixth case, and it's called Baso's White and Black. Every case in the Shoyoroku starts the same way. Attention! A monk once asked Baso, "Your Reverence, abandoning the four propositions and wiping out the 100 negations, please point out to me directly the meaning of Bodhidharmas coming from the West." Baso said, "I don't feel like explaining to you today. Go ask Chizo." The monk then went to Chizo. And Chizo said, "Why don't you ask the master?" The monk said, "The master told me to ask you." Rubbing his head with his hand, Chizo said, "I've got a headache today. Go ask Brother Kai." The monk asked Kai, and Kai said, "Ever since I've been here, I don't know." At this, the monk returned and told Baso what had happened. And Baso said, "Chizo's head is white. Kai's head is black." And that's the case. So many places to get caught up, yeah? And yet the way is laid completely bare and plain to see. So when we go through, the first thing that's brought up is this notion of abandoning the four propositions and wiping out the 100 negations. What is this? Four propositions, 100 negations. Yeah? The four propositions are a set of logical arguments. Yeah? It's a suite of four discrete functions that has many applications. It was important in a lot of the early sutras. It's actually a kind of a way of philosophy or logic, right? As an example, we could use an arbitrary proposition like humans understand compassion, right? And so by using the four propositions to transform it, we would say humans understand compassion. Humans do not understand compassion. Humans both do and do not understand compassion. Humans neither do nor do not understand compassion. Yeah. So the Nagarjuna is credited with coming up with this way of doing these four negations, and he used it as an investigative tool to kind of realize or open to emptiness or shunyata, zeroness, nothingness. And this was a way of fathoming the teachings of the second turning of the Dharma wheel, right? What Nagarjuna wishes to prove ultimately is the irrationality of existence, the fact that it can't be apprehended through logic. Or another way of looking at it would be the falsehood of reasoning which is built upon the logical principle of A equals A. Yeah? Because two answers, assertion and denial, are always possible to a given question. His arguments always contain two refutations, one denying the presence and another denying the denial of the presence. And he came to understand this double refutation as the middle path. So through this, Nagarjuna's method of liberation is threefold. To look carefully at language and thinking, completely deconstructing them so that nothing is left. Therefore, pointing to our original mind by exhausting the contradictions of our ordinary thinking mind, and to reveal the inherent contradictions that we face every time we try to speak. How can there be here if there's no there? How can there be a there without a here? How can we distinguish here from there? Where does here begin? Where does there end? When we exhaust this path conclusively, then we've transcended also the 100 negations. We've seen through all the conceptual labels. So I'm sure you wanted to know because you read the case, right? Read it with me, and you thought, I need to know what that is to solve this case. The bad news is you're no closer to penetrating this matter, having known this. Yeah? Because the question that was asked in the first place is setting these things aside. So in other words, don't point to this. Don't point to some idea of emptiness. Just show me, why did Bodhidharma come from the West? The cases in the Shoyoroku have a preface to the assembly. Right? Before the case is read, they'll present this. It shows kind of like a pointer, a way of trying to enter the case. When the mouth cannot be opened, the tongueless person knows how to talk. When a foot cannot be lifted, then the legless person knows how to walk. If you fall for someone's words and are burdened by them, how can freedom be yours? A good question indeed, yeah? That's where this case is pointing. How can freedom be yours? So setting aside all of these conceptual gymnastics, right? Putting away the mind road and burning it, please point out directly to me the meaning of Bodhidharma's coming from the West. It's a pretty weighty question. Baso says, I don't feel like explaining to you today. Go ask Chizo. What was this? Was he ducking out? This is an exceptional master. Certainly, he wouldn't duck away from a student who was in need of compassion. When you penetrate this case thoroughly, you'll see that he's telling you precisely what the meaning of it all is. It's all right there. It's all right there. And when the monk goes to Chizo, Chizo has a very profound question. Very profound. Yeah? Why don't you ask the master? Why don't you ask the one who's asking the question? But I think he misses his import slightly, doesn't he? He says, well, no, the master told me to come ask you. All of the answers to the questions that we seek are always present right here and right now. Yeah. We just look for the semantics. We want it structured in a specific way. And we listen for the answer that we want to hear. We ask the question with words and logic, and we look for words and logic to appear. Is that the lived experience, the truth of your lived experience? Yeah. Rubbing his head with his hand, Chizo said, I've got a headache today. Go and ask Brother Kai. So now twice, there's been this almost grandmotherly deference to the student, trying to show them to the heart of the matter, to the very marrow of lived experience. Yeah. But they realize somehow, even with all of their pointing, they're coming up short. And so they send Kai to ask about it. What is the meaning of Bodhidharmas coming from the West? Brother Kai says, ever since I've been here, I don't know. Yeah? You can drop off that why. And if you do drop off that why, if you open to your life, if you experience from a state of wonder, the answer is always present. All you have to do is let go of the constructs and reason that you're using to assemble a narrative. It's very simple. Let me explain it. It's very difficult to experience. Our storehouse consciousness is full of the lived experience of not just our lifetime, but lifetimes of people who preceded us. Yeah? All of that is present right now for you. Yeah? Baked into all the teachings that were passed down to you as a child. And we've looked so carefully at those memories and curated them so lovingly and stared so deeply into our discursive mind and its logic and its games and its stories that we've entered samadhi with them. We actually identify with them. You're not going to find your true self there. You're not going to find any answers there. And the questions that you find, right? The questions that you find don't have an answer outside of the realm of logic. If you want to transcend that karmic consciousness, then you've got to look very hard at the questioner, yeah, and watch it constructing the questions. And that questioner will then drop away, and what bursts forth at that point? You're hungry at the end of a long day. Yeah. You have a headache when people ask too many tiresome questions. Yeah. It's such a we always continue to extol the virtues of letting go of this discursive narrative, letting go of our ceaseless need to play the logic game. But it's very difficult to do, as evidenced by the last part of this case. The monk is still dumbfounded. He's not finding any solace in the answers he's receiving, because he's not taking them in the spirit that they've been given, right? So he goes back to Baso to tell him what happened. And Baso said, Chizo's head is white, Kai's head is black. If you want to see this plainly and clearly, you have to look very carefully. Look very carefully. He's pointing in the direction accurately. Yeah? But don't look for what you expect to see. Look carefully at what presents itself. Yeah? Let the walls of your discursive mind come down. Let the labels and judgments that you have go. And then there's no problem. Yeah? But if you continue imposing your expectations, your ideas and judgments on your lived experience, you won't see it. And this question will be a mystery until the end of time, occupying all of your days with this pondering. Because your lived experience will never match your expectation. What happens when you let go? Sometimes it takes this level of confounding, yeah, to finally bring us to the point where we recognize that you cannot apprehend the ocean in a jar. You can't live your life, right, in a story or in the reflection of your discursive mind or through your expectations. You have to let go and see clearly. Then the expectations fall precisely into the place where they belong, right? The scales fall from our eyes, and we can see things clearly as they are. And if you're still confused by this, right, then just stop trying to use the mind road to solve it. If you look very closely, you'll see right now what's right in front of you. Yeah?
Thank you for joining us. If this podcast was meaningful to you and supported your practice, please give us a hand by joining us at One River Zen